The vulnerability of Japanese naval codes and ciphers was crucial to the conduct of World War II, and had an important influence on foreign relations between Japan and the West in the years leading up to the war as well. Every Japanese code was eventually broken, and the intelligence gathered made possible such operations as the victorious American ambush of the Japanese Navy at Midway and the shooting down of Isoroku Yamamoto in Operation Vengeance. The Imperial Japanese Navy used many codes and ciphers. All of these cryptosystems were known differently by different organizations. The names listed below are those given by Western cryptanalytic operations. Red Code. This was a code book system used in World War I and after. It was so called because the American copies made of it were bound in red covers. It should not be confused with the red cipher used by the diplomatic corps. This code consisted of two books. The first contained the code itself, the second contained an additive cipher which was applied to the codes before transmission, with the starting point for the latter being embedded in the transmitted message. A copy of the code book was obtained in a black bag operation on the luggage of a Japanese naval attaché in 1923. After 3 years of work, Agnes Driscoll was able to break the additive portion of the code. Purple. In 1937, the alphabetic typewriter was used to encipher naval attaché traffic. The U.S. called this the Purple Machine. Although the Japanese purchased the Enigma machine, they chose to base the Cipher machine on a different technology. Rather than use rotors, the Japanese used a stepping switch. Coral, a cipher machine developed for Japanese naval attaché ciphers. It was not much used. Dockyard Codes. A succession of codes used to communicate between Japanese naval installations. These were comparatively easily broken by British codebreakers in Singapore and are believed to have been the source of early indications of imminent naval war preparations. JN-11, the Fleet Auxiliary System, derived from the JN-40 Merchant Shipping Code. Important for the information on troop convoys and orders of battle. JN-25. JN-25 is the name given by codebreakers to the chief and most secure command and control communications scheme used by the Imperial Japanese Navy during World War II. Introduced in 1939 to replace Blue, it was an N-ciphered code, producing 5 numeral groups for transmission. New code books and/or new super-enciphering books were introduced from time to time, each new version requiring a more or less fresh cryptanalytic attack. In particular, JN-25 was significantly changed on the 1st of December 1940, and again on the 4th of December 1941, just before the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was the 1941 edition that was sufficiently broken by late May 1942 to provide the critical forewarning of the Japanese attack on Midway. British, Australian, Dutch and American workers were cooperating in attacks on JN-25 well before Pearl Harbor, but because the Japanese Navy was not engaged in significant battle operations before then, there was little traffic available to act as raw material. Before then, IJN discussions and orders could generally travel by routes more secure than broadcast, such as courier direct delivery by an IJN vessel. Publicly available accounts differ, but the most credible agree that the JN-25 version in use before December 1941 was not more than perhaps 10% broken at the time of the attack, and that primarily in stripping away its super-encipherment. JN-25 traffic increased immensely with the outbreak of naval warfare at the end of 1941 and provided the cryptographic depth needed to succeed in substantially breaking the existing and subsequent versions of JN-25. The American effort was directed from Washington, D.C. by the U.S. Navy's Signals Intelligence Command (OP-20G) at Pearl Harbor. It was centered at the Navy's Combat Intelligence Unit, led by Commander Joseph Rochefort, with the assistance of Station Cast in the Philippines, and the British Far East Combined Bureau in Singapore, and using a punched card tabulating machine manufactured by International Business Machines. A successful attack was mounted against the December 1941 Code edition. Together they made considerable progress. By early 1942, Cribs exploited common formalities in Japanese messages, such as, "I have the honor to inform your excellency." The purple cipher, used by the Japanese Foreign Office as its most secure system, had no cryptographic connection with any version of JN25, or indeed with any of the encryption systems used by the Japanese military. Purple traffic was diplomatic, not military, and in the period before the Pearl Harbor attack, the Japanese military, which effectively controlled Japanese policy, distrusted the Foreign Office and told it little. JN25 traffic, on the other hand, was limited to military matters, mostly IJN operational ones, from which strategic and tactical information could sometimes be inferred. Nevertheless, decrypted purple traffic was very valuable, especially later in the war. JN39. This was a naval code used by merchant ships, broken in May 1940. The 28th of May 1941, when the whale factory Nishin Maru II visited San Francisco, U.S. Customs Service agent George Muller and Commander R.P. McCulloch of the U.S. Navy's 12th Naval District boarded her and seized her code books, without informing Office of Naval Intelligence. Copies were made in a clumsy way, and the originals returned. The Japanese quickly realized JN39 was compromised, and replaced it with JN40. JN39 was replaced by JN40, which was originally believed to be a code super-enciphered with a numerical additive in the same way as JN25. However, in September 1942, an error by the Japanese gave clues to the codebreakers at the British FECB Kilindini. In fact, the code was a fractionating transposition cipher based on a substitution table of 100 groups of 2 figures each followed by a columnar transposition. By November 1942, they were able to read all previous traffic and break each message as they received it. Enemy shipping, including troop convoys, was thus trackable, exposing it to Allied attack. JN 147. This code was used for minor operations and could disclose locally useful information. JN 152. A simple transposition and substitution cipher used for broadcasting navigation warnings. In 1942, the FECB at Kilindini broke JN 152 and the previously impenetrable JN 167, another merchant shipping cipher. JN 167. A merchant shipping cipher. 1942 Chicago Tribune incident. In June 1942, the Chicago Tribune, run by isolationist Col. Robert R. McCormick, published an article that implied that the United States had broken the Japanese codes. This was a serious breach of national security. The government at first wanted to prosecute the Tribune under the Espionage Act of 1917. For various reasons, including the desire not to bring more attention to the article, the charges were dropped.